Hello, these are instructions for running the Perkin-Elmore TGA7. We have a TGA7 and a DSC7 in the back of the materials lab. You should find both instruments on, as well as the controller, thermal analyzing controllers, and the computer. All these lights should be on. If not, you must contact the lab manager to get them up and running. Your first step is to turn on the computer monitor. The computer monitor is left off because it does not have a sleep mode. Once you turn the monitor on, if you see this band up at the top, that means that the Pyrus control software is already open. When it is opened, it puts this banner at the top. To start your particular instrument, you will click on this box, like TGA7, in order to open up the software to control the TGA7. It still takes a while to open the software, so just be patient, and there it comes. Then it will give you control to set up a method for your run. When you open the software, the method editor should pop up and show you the last method that was run. To open another method, you go to File, Open Method, and find the method you want to run. So you want to fill in the information, sample ID, you want to browse and choose a directory on where to store your data. And then you want to give your file a name. The weight and zero weights will be recorded automatically in your procedures. What you do need to set are your initial conditions by hitting this tab. What temperature are you going to hold at? 25°C. In the Program tab, you want to heat then from 25 to your max temperature. If it's something less than this, you can put in whatever temperature you want to run to, such as 800, and the rate at which you want to move. The final thing is over here on this right-hand tab, in condition. If you put to go to the load temperature, it will automatically go back to 25°C at the end of the run. You can then view the program, which tells you what the steps are, heating from 25 to 800, and then without a final step here, it carries out the end conditions as you specified. So this is the method, and it's ready to run when we get the instrument ready. This page is the instrument viewer, so it's showing you what's going on with the instrument. Right now it's recording a weight or mass of minus 93.32 grams. So what we need to do is to put the sample pan on the weight scale and zero it. Before we run, however, we need to turn on the gas. The air for the instruments is house air, which is back behind the TGA. You see here, which should be on as we leave it on, and should be reading around 25 psi. The nitrogen is turned on at this regulator. So you will open the valve for the tank supply, which shows here. And then we have this safety shut here we need to open. Below the cylinder regulator, you will see a manifold of tubing. To verify that the nitrogen is on, you can open this, and you should hear the air filling the DSC chamber. Close that back. And in front of this manifold, you will see a selector here for your TGA. At this valve, you can select either air as it is right now, or you can turn this to point towards nitrogen if you want nitrogen in your burning environment. We're going to choose air, so I'm going to turn this valve to point towards this tube. Here you see the TGA-7 unit, and it is ready for operation. I am going to lift this shield by holding the top and pulling this up to look inside, where you'll see the sample will be put on this small wire hook, and I'll show you procedures for that in a minute. This is the furnace, which right now is in the cool chamber of the unit. To move it out of the cooling chamber, we will use the software. At the software, you'll see here tabs for the cool furnace, which is where it is right now, lowering the furnace, and raising the furnace. I am going to hit lower the furnace right now, and it will move out of the cooling chamber. Now you see the furnace has moved out from the cooling chamber. Now I'm going to hit raise the furnace, and the furnace will raise. The sample pan is kept in this plastic case. There are a pair of tweezers here for moving the pan. For safekeeping, we generally move the pan around on this weigh paper. Next step is to calibrate the weight. To do that, you need to place the empty crucible on the thin wire. So we have a stage you see here. We put weigh paper on there and the crucible, and then you're going to lift up until the pan hook is above the wire hook, and then lift it onto the wire using the paper. Then lower the stage, and once you have the pan on the hook, you want to move your tray out of the way, and we're going to go to the software and raise the furnace. Now on the software, we can see the swinging pan as it adjusts to the furnace being moved. If you can't see this on the software, you would hit reset monitor. When you do that, it clears the field, and this button here, full scale, will zoom in and out to zoom in on your signal. Once the weight is stabilized, you want to hit these scales here for zeroing the weight of the empty pan. Now we are going to add sample to the pan and get the weight of the sample. To do that, first we need to lower the furnace. The furnace has now lowered from the empty pan, and we're going to remove it to add sample. In order to take the pan off the hook, you want to again raise your stage with paper up as close as you can get. Then use your paper to lift your pan off the hook, and then lower the stage. Your sample can be weighed on an analytical scale, and use a weigh paper to measure out the sample. The minimum mass should be 5 milligrams. If you're a little under or a little over, it's okay as long as it fits in the pan. You have to close the door to get the actual weight because the vent affects it. Put a piece of weigh paper on your tray. Want to then remove the pan from the hook, and then lower the tray, and then pour your sample in. Get your sample in your pan by hook or by crook. You measured at the scale to estimate the weight, but the actual weight will be what's measured on the TGA scale. If you need to lift, you can use tweezers. Put your sample back on the stage. Use the tray to lift the pan hook up to the wire hook. Once it's hooked, you lower the tray and put it back in position against the right-hand wall. Back at the software then, you raise the furnace. Furnace will raise, and then you lower the shield. Check your method. With a new sample name. The weight of the sample is actually measured by the TGA, and you can see it at 3.33 milligrams. Now the sample is starting to heat up.